Hello again. I'm Monica Pitts. Welcome to Marketing with Purpose. Today we're going to talk about testimonials and how to get them to get the most out of them. Now, testimonials are a marketing treasure. They're something every marketer needs to have in their toolkit to pull out and use them when you need someone else to talk about you. It stinks when you're constantly running around just talking about yourself, blah, blah, blah. It sounds like you're selling, right? But when someone else talks about you, it means so much more. And their words can do so much for you. They help people that don't know you meet you through another person. They're like a referral. And they help this person who's facing the same challenge that this individual in the testimonial is talking about. They see themselves in that person and they can connect with that person. And that person can help them overcome objections that they're facing. So testimonials are super awesome. And they're only super awesome if you get super awesome testimonials, right? So today I'm going to go through how we get the most out of testimonials for our clients. I'm going to tell you the exact system that we use to develop the questions to get great testimonials for our clients and for ourselves. And I'm going to give you some of the reasoning behind it so that you can understand why you ask the questions the way that you do.
If you're a natural-born marketer, you're one lucky son of a gun. If you're like most people, marketing, especially online marketing, is about as appealing as standing in a police lineup. The May Create team of creatives has transformed websites and digital marketing from craptastic to fantastic since 2005. Our podcast, Marketing with Purpose, makes sense of marketing so you can make purposeful decisions instead of carrying on with the same old crap you've been doing. And now your host, Monica Pitts, founder of May Create, with another episode on how to make your marketing not suck.
Now, as I'm talking through this process, you're going to know that, it's all about psychology, really, and really understanding your target audience. Some people, when you get into the meat of this, start feeling uncomfortable. They start feeling like they're tricking people or they're being salesy. And here's the deal. We're not tricking people. We are planning so that we can help people. You're not tricking people and selling them something that they don't need. You're not tricking them into donating for your organization and then squandering their money away in Vegas. That's not what you're doing. You're doing good things with the things that come out of these testimonials, right? So you need to use this psychology and these tactics to be able to get great testimonials so you can have conversations with people. And there's nothing dishonest about it. You're using your powers for good. And as long as we're using our powers for good, everything can fall into place after that. So let's get to business. If you want to see this whole process written down, go over to podcast.maycreate.com. And you'll find on this episode, we have a blog post that will outline this whole process that I'm explaining to you today. And you can go over to that resource and use it as you're planning out your own testimonials, because you might be driving right now. I know that I'm always listening to podcasts as I'm driving or walking or, in between tasks, maybe cleaning my house. And it makes it really hard to take notes. And that's why we took notes for you and put them out at podcast.maycreate.com. So go on over there and use that as your resource. So how do you get the most from your testimonials? How do you get an awesome testimonial? We recently just went through this process with gathering testimonials for our own company. And first, I was amazed at how many people were more than willing to give a testimonial for us. I was a little apprehensive about asking my own clients. I have no problem asking everybody else's, but somehow asking my own felt like I was asking a lot. And people were just super willing to do it, which was amazing, especially because we were putting them on video. And as I sat and I listened to these testimonials, I knew that we had hit the nail on the head with the exact questions that we were asking just by listening to the very first testimonial. It was magic. It was exactly what I knew people needed to hear, and even more. It was even more because as we asked the questions that were starting to, tell the journey and ask the challenges, they uncovered challenges that I knew people had, but I didn't know that they personally had. And it was awesome. And I learned about my clients, and I also know that these were pretty much the best testimonials that I could have possibly gotten. So use this process. I know it works. Now, the journey to get to an amazing testimonial starts where everything else in marketing starts, which is understanding who you're talking to. So when I say understanding who you're talking to, I do not mean the person that you're asking the questions, not the person who's giving the testimonial. While they are a very important person, the person that you're talking to is the person you want the testimonial to impact. The person that this testimonial is going to help overcome their buying objections or their concerns and the challenges that they're facing. That's who we want to talk to. So first we put ourselves in their shoes. And if you've done your target market homework, then you're in the right place because you can reconnect with those individuals, right? So think about your target market and who you're trying to reach through this testimonial. Now, as a nonprofit, I know that you have multiple target markets. So our goal is to find people that are going to give testimonials from each of those target markets. You want to have your volunteer testimonials and your beneficiary testimonials. There is no one size fits all testimonial unless you have a beneficiary that then turned into a volunteer, that then turned into a donor. I guess that would be an amazing success story. But most of the time you have your donors that might overlap with your volunteers or might not. And then you have the people that benefit from your services. You want testimonials of all of those things, right? So that way you can use them in your marketing in the proper places. Now, as you are getting ready to gather those testimonials, you're going to ask yourself, who do I ask? Who do I invite in to give these testimonials? Because the right person can make all the difference. I like to think about the different people that I'm trying to talk to and the different places they are in their journeys. So you don't just want to have only volunteer testimonials from people who have been volunteering with you for years and years and years. You also want to have a testimonial from people who just decided to volunteer, because the people who you're talking to can probably connect with them easier because they are just deciding to volunteer. They haven't done it for years and years and years yet. So you want both, right? You want the person who's been with you forever and you want the person who just joined you. So think to yourself, where's that journey? You also want to have, if you're doing donor testimonials, it could be people who just donate a little bit, or people who do recurring donations, or people who give large gifts, or someone who did a rollover IRA gift. So those are all different types of donors, and you don't want to sell short one person or another. You don't just want to have testimonials from one type of person. You want to have testimonials from the different types of person that you serve and that donate to you and that volunteer for you, because you want to be able to connect with people where they are. That's what the testimonials are for. So you'll make a list of all the different types of testimonials you need to connect with different types of people. Then you're going to go through and you're going to think about the people that you know that would do a great job of these. I love picking people who I've already seen on camera before, which is kind of lucky for me, right? Because we do videos and I've seen my clients on camera, and the ones that have like these, they're so eloquent, and the way that they talk, the way that they hold themselves on camera, it's awesome. I love picking those people. But then I also kind of like the awkward ones too, because not everybody is eloquent and amazingly well spoken. There's nothing wrong with having somebody who's a little bit awkward. Usually you want somebody that you can easily understand what they're saying, that can get to the point relatively quickly. So they're not super long-winded people, but I wouldn't rule out the long-winded people either, because they could be some of your greatest advocates, right? So think through the people that you know that fit the bill, that would be willing to talk or be on camera and say these kind of things about you to build the testimonials. And you will probably want to record multiple people in each category, because some will do a better job than others of connecting with the points that you need them to make. So then we need to start thinking about how we're going to talk to these people. What are we going to ask them? So we're going to go back to our target market again. What do they need to hear? Like, where are they now in their journey? And then where do they want to be? And what's holding them back? What are their biggest problems, or what are their triggers, the things that they're super worried about? How are you solving those problems? And what are their objections to moving forward? And then how do you overcome those objections in a conversation? These are all things that you've probably already done if you've really assessed your target market. And if you haven't done that, then you're going to want to go back and do that now, because in order to get a great testimonial, you have to understand who you're talking to. So once I understand those things, the problems that my target market is facing, how they're solving those problems, what their objections are to moving forward, and how I can overcome those objections, then I sit down and I make the initial questions. What do I think I might ask? Now, when we did a recent set of testimonials, we were like, okay, well, we made these questions and we've clearly done this before, so we think we're really, really cool. And I wasn't, though, the person who was interviewing for the testimonials. I was having other people do it for me. And one of the people was new. And I thought, you know what? I don't know. I feel like we should probably practice this first. I want to make sure that we have a great interviewer on the other side of the microphone to make sure that we get these amazing testimonials. And so we took these questions that we had just thought of as a group and we role played them. And what happened when we role played is I was the person that they were interviewing. And so I just tried to really, really imagine that I am this target market. And I just answer the exact way that I think I would answer. And if there is something weird in my mind going on when they ask this question that I think might make the answer not what we need to hear, then we have to stop. So what happened in this instance is we role played our questions and I realized they were not right, because they made me want to answer yes or no. They were too leading. They weren't open-ended enough. Because in your testimonial, you don't want to have yes or no questions. You want questions that invite conversation. Now, from there, we started reworking the questions, but still, I just wasn't prompted as the person being interviewed to really say what I needed to say. I was getting way too specific. And that's the other thing. You don't want to get too specific. You want to leave these, like I said, more open-ended. Absolutely not yes, no, but more storytelling. You want this person to be able to see themselves in the journey that the testimonial is portraying. So you need to ask questions about the beginning, about the middle, about the end. You need to ask questions that help the listener know who this person is. Not who, like as in their name, but what's their role and how big is their company or their organization. And if you're trying to connect with people with specific values, what are their values and how can you tell that story through this testimonial? Now, what we ended up doing, which was pretty awesome in this case, was I gave the perfect testimonial. What I really wanted to hear, I said, this is what I want to hear. This is what this target market needs to hear to take action. So from there, we worked backwards. We broke it down and we said, okay, these are the parts of the testimonial that they need to hear. This is the part of the testimonial that's identifying a challenge that they're facing. This is the part of the testimonial that's identifying that this person is like them. This is the part of the testimonial that tells the journey that they went through to arrive at the final destination, which is where they want to be. And this is the part that talks about the objections that buyer might have about the process that we're asking them to undertake. Then we worked backwards and we formulated questions which would get them to the end result. And that worked way better. Now, when you give this perfect testimonial, I want you to really think about the words that your target market actually says. You need to use those words in your questions because that will encourage the people that you're interviewing to use those words back to you. Kind of like if you've ever been writing and you kind of get stuck in writer's block and then you see a word like just in your periphery, or maybe you're not even paying attention to it, but suddenly you're using that word over and over again. And you're like, how did I get that word in this paragraph 6 times? And it's just because it was there and you kept using it because you were stuck. It's the same way. People tend to paraphrase or parrot phrase, as some people call it, back what you ask them. So we want to use the words that you know your target market actually uses in the questions that you're asking them. So let's go through an example. Let's say that you're trying to get people to volunteer. And let's say that one of the things that people tell you or maybe they don't tell you, but you just know is an objection is that they don't have a lot of time. So the person that you're interviewing, you want to pick somebody who's busy and you want to ask them to talk about themselves and you want to ask them to talk about their lives. Right now, I am going to pretend to interview one of my best friends, Carrie, because I know her really well and I think I know what she would answer. So Carrie's a super busy lady. She's got 2 kids. She's an orthopedic nurse. She does surgeries on people. It's crazy. And she's also a volunteer. She volunteers at her church. She volunteers at the food bank. She always finds time to do this. Carrie would be a great person to make a testimonial with for your organization because she's lovely, first off. She's well-spoken and she's super busy. And if you're trying to overcome the objection of time, that's important. She's also 40 years old and you might be looking for that demographic and bringing more people of that age range into your organization. You might also have people who identify best with women. Maybe that's the person that's most likely to donate or be involved in your organization. So Carrie's a great person to have a testimonial with, and you identify that. Now, I would ask Carrie to tell me a little bit about herself. This is where we start the story. This is where we let people see that Carrie's a real person and that they're a lot like her or that they want to be like her. And Carrie would say, well, I'm a mother of 2 and I'm a nurse and my kids are in lots of sporting events. It's pretty amazing to watch them grow up. Then I might ask a leading question and I might say, well, Carrie, you are such a busy person. How did you even find time to be able to volunteer at the food bank? Because I want Carrie to specifically talk to this objection and help other people overcome that same challenge. And Carrie would say, well, actually, it wasn't hard at all because there's this online sign up where you go and sign up for shifts at the food bank. And so I heard about it from my church and I went to the online sign up and you can sign up for just an afternoon or for a couple of hours. And so I just treated it like a family event and I just scheduled it on our calendar. And then I would say, well, Carrie, what brought you to this organization? How did you find us? Now, you might not use this particular answer in your testimonial, but this is something that you want to know for yourself. This is something that can help you see what's going on and learn more about why people are volunteering for your organization. And since you've already got them on the phone or on camera anyway, why not ask? Why not learn? And you could even play that back to your new hires or to other people in your board. You can use this opportunity to reconnect with your target market. When I asked Carrie what brought her to us, she might say something like, well, I am a nurse and keeping people healthy is extremely important to me. I am always concerned about my kids eating healthy, and I'm also concerned about other kids in our community and making sure that they have food to eat and that they have the basic needs for their lives. And I feel like by bringing my daughter to the food bank to volunteer, she gets to see not only that giving to her community makes her feel good, it also shows her that there's other people who don't have what she has. And it reinforces my values of health and fitness to my child. And then I would ask Carrie, what would you say to somebody who's considering volunteering and volunteering at the food bank? And that might be like the very best part of the testimonial altogether, because oftentimes this is when people summarize all of the things that you just asked them. So you just got them to talk about the objections and the challenges and the outcomes and the journey, right? You just ask them those individual questions. And then when you ask them to give advice to someone else, they somehow wrap it all up in this neat little bow and get it said way faster in the end. So we want to ask them this question because that is maybe exactly where your testimonial is going to come from. This might be the only part of this conversation that you use. Because then Carrie might say something like, I would tell them that volunteering at the food bank has been super fulfilling, and it really didn't take a lot of time or effort. It was really streamlined, and I had an amazing time with my daughter building this activity together and giving back to our community. We felt so good once it was done, and I was so proud of my daughter and how hard that she worked. I feel like I got more out of it than I probably gave. And it felt like I was part of something that was important. We're totally doing it again next month. It's worth setting aside the time to do. So a big thanks to Carrie for letting me put words in her mouth right now and giving her testimonial. But this is how you're going to craft those perfect testimonials, right? You're going to go through and you're going to think about your target market, really putting yourselves in their shoes. What do they need to hear? Where are they now? Where do they want to be? What's holding them back? What are their biggest problems? How are you solving those problems? What are their objections to moving forward? And then how do you overcome those objections? And then you can make your initial questions. You can role play it just like I did with myself and Carrie here, and really listen and see if the answers that you give actually yield what you wanted. You can give that perfect testimonial and then break it down. Make sure that you use words that your target market actually says. And then at the end, make sure that you ask them that wrap-up question so that they can put it all together for you in a nice little bow. And here's the deal, friends. It's really hard to get this right on the very first try. So pick a person that's awesome, that's forgiving, that's a huge champion of yours, and make them your guinea pig. Ask them your questions. If they don't give you the answers that you needed, then you need to go back and you need to think through your questions again, because what you don't want to do is just keep plowing forward, waste everybody's time, and make a bunch of testimonials that don't actually speak to your audience. It's totally okay to fail. You just have to be cognizant of the fact that you're failing and fail forward, fail fast, and move on. And that, in a nutshell, is how we get great testimonials. I know that my example is a little rough, but it does give you a really good example of how to role play through these testimonials and understand what answers the questions might yield. Hopefully it serves as a starting point for you as you're collecting testimonials for your organization. Now, if you want the blog post that accompanies this podcast, you're going to go to podcast.maycreate.com and you can get all the notes there. Because like I said, it is like you could be listening to this podcast anywhere. And if you don't have a pen and paper and you want to go through and actually use this system to develop your own testimonials, you're going to want to go get that resource. So just go out to podcast.maycreate.com and swoop it up in the show notes. Now, while you're over there, if you have not outlined your target market, I would definitely download How to Create a Marketing Plan, because that is going to help you through the target market activities. And also, if you go back in time, one episode, you can listen to the episode on do you know your donors? And that is all about really examining your donors and understanding who they are and understanding your target market. So with that, I leave you. I know you've got other things to do, and those testimonials are not going to plan themselves. So go forth and market with purpose.
Thanks again for listening to Marketing with Purpose. Head over to mayecreate.com, MAYECREATE.com. Yeah, you heard me right, MAYECreate.com for podcast notes and more resources to grow your business. Don't let your marketing suck. Get your pride on, market with purpose.